Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. This is the final destination. This is the opportunity that a lot of you I know have been waiting for. We're going to have a wonderful show this evening. We're going to be able to create some magical opportunities for entrepreneurs, for business leaders from all over the world. We're talking today about execution. What does it take to get things done? What does it take to magnify your success and to create the world that you truly want to create and be successful in? And so there's a lot of tips we're going to share tonight, a lot of opportunities for you to engage and create some beautiful scenarios for yourself and for others. And so I want you to hang in there with me. I want you to participate. I want you to truly give it everything you have. If you have some other things going on, and I just want you to really give us as much of your focus as you possibly can, because I think you're going to see some great things for yourself and for others as we move forward in this discussion. I also want to remind you of a couple of things as we move forward. I'm going to be posting a document, a training manual for you all to go from, and this training manual is literally from our 9 steps to masterful relationship building. This is the 9th step. When we talk about execution, we're talking about the 9th step in that process. And in that process, by now, you've walked through several other things you need to do to develop professional relationships, to move those relationships forward, to create an advisory council, to create a team, to learn how to work with that team, to find the excitement in the esprit de corps in that team. But now we're going to talk about execution. How do you make your team move forward? How do you get them on board? How do you get them to maximize their engagement and create more opportunities for you and for them? And this is very, very important, because you can plan all you want. You really can. You can be masterful at creating the best strategies, and you can come up with the best tactics and techniques. But if you actually can't do it, if you can't make it happen, it's all for naught. And a lot of times we spend a lot of time in our planning, but very little time in what we need to have to execute phenomenally well. And so we want to make sure that you know how to do that, and you've equipped with the best of modern science, best of information that you possibly can, whatever motivates you, whatever strategies you want you to be able to have that. So that's what's in this training manual that I'm going to share with you. Everything you need to know is right here, and I'm going to post this in the chat. I have posted it in the show notes, and I've also posted it in all the marketing. But for anybody who was interested, you should have all that information right at your fingertips. All you got to do is click on it, download it. I suggest you do that, because this is the latest version. If you've done it in the past, if you looked at this document in the past, you'll realize that it's got an updated date. So this is the latest version, and I continue to add to these training manuals. So if you've even seen a training manual that I've done in the past, it's probably not the same today. So you may want to go back and check on that. And if you need access to something that I may have shared with you in the past, and you, for some reason, you can't get it anymore because I've updated the access codes or whatever, just give me a DM somewhere, or send me a text message. In fact, I'm gonna make sure my information is streaming, I should say, in just a little bit, so you'll be able to see. I'll put a banner up. There we go. You'll be able to see how to get in contact with me and how to register anything that you want to register for any reason. Okay, so today we're talking about strategy, and we're talking about how do you make a strategic execution work. And so I want to make sure that if you're visiting from afar, if you're the first time visiting, you get a chance to put your name and your information in the chat box. As we go through the show, I may give a little shout out to you. But if you look at the document that we have in front of you, this is the series we have on execution. This could easily be a 5-day class, a 5-day course that we teach on execution for leaders. There's so much here that there is for you to pay attention to. And as I kind of go through some of the high points, because I'm not going to be able to get through it all, as I go through some of the high points of the document, I want you to think about any questions that you'll have in anything when it comes to this stuff, because it is critically important that you learn how to execute, not just execute for yourself, but how to help others execute. because as a leader, your job is to be the support system. Your job is to make sure your team has all the resources that it needs in order to execute whatever plans you've put together, whether you've put together those plans by yourself or if you've put together those plans with someone else. I suggest that you use a collaborative process always. I know that's not always possible, and it certainly doesn't always happen, but it's important that when you are involving other players, that you do everything you can to get them involved, get them engaged, get them feeling like they are a participant in something special, and make sure that their efforts are rewarded. I can't say enough about that. And so when I talk to you people about execution, I'm simply talking about that. How do you get things done? What do you need to do to make sure that not only do you execute, but that you are able to pay attention and deliver active support when it's needed in the right places, so that you get the things done that you need to get done for yourself and for your business. Now, I always do this, especially as of late, as I'm deepening my own spiritual development. I'm trying to go back to the old text, the old biblical studies, and what did we talk about when we were as human beings talking about execution, and what does the Bible have to say about it? And it turns out that this ancient text, this ancient wisdom, is so great and gives us so many clues as to how to do this and do this well. So I'm going to read a couple of ideas to you, a couple concepts, and I'm going to discuss them with you as we move forward. But again, like I said earlier, if you have any questions or thoughts that you want to add, go ahead and throw that stuff in the chat. And as I kind of go through this, and I'll come back to it. Like I said, I can't get to the entire document, but I'll get to the high points. So I want to cover, before we even get started into what we think execution is as a definition, I want to talk a little bit about what the Bible says about execution. The Bible says that it's important for you to invite feedback and to test your assumptions often. Now, because it doesn't expect you, nobody expects you when you're executing something to know exactly what you're doing all the time. In order to move forward in any execution, you've got to be open to new information. That means you have to invite feedback. You have to expect it and look for it and seek it, and don't look at it as something that's a criticism, but look at it as something as an opportunity to grow and to move forward and strengthen yourself so that you can move faster, right? And you have to test whatever assumptions that you have, because you're going to have to make some assumptions in almost anything to get started, no matter what you're doing. And those assumptions either become clearly correct or clearly misaligned and incorrect as you move forward in any program, any process, any strategy. You're going to have to test your assumptions, and you should set up a process by which you test every assumption that you've needed to make in order for your plan to be complete and for your strategy to be complete and for you to move forward. Number two, you have to establish a methodology to keep your eye on the long goal, whatever that is. It says keep your eye on the prize in the document, but I want you to understand that if you lose sight of your target, if you lose sight of the next benchmark or a stopping post, if you lose sight of where you're going, then you're going to get misdirected. Your team, and you're going to fall off your path. You're going to fall off of the straightest line to the distance, to the point that you're trying to get to. You're going to fall short, and you're going to find yourself not necessarily having had all of the resources you need to deviate and then come back and struggle to get back on the path, because you're lost. It's the definition of being lost, right? So you want to make sure that you keep your eye, you have something in place, some strategy, some technique, something that keeps you focused on the end goal. At the same time, number three, you're going to have to align your priorities. You can't do everything simultaneously. Whenever you're taking the journey, whenever you're moving the team forward, whenever you're trying to accomplish something, everything, every task, every technique, every tactic, every strategy, every tool, piece of equipment, everything can't be deployed immediately, and shouldn't. There's times for everything. There's a time for everything. There's a strategy that you should employ or deploy when you need that. And so you have to know, you have to be well versed on your resources. You have to know what you have and what you have, what you can bring up, what reserves you can call in, what techniques and strategies you can call in if things go wrong that you need to get to. But more importantly, you have to work things in order. You have to make sure that you're working in a way that is efficient and as effective as possible. And those two words have two different definitions, which we get into the document. But I want to make sure you understand, this is where we start to hint, that there's a difference between efficiency and effectiveness, and you need both of them. Specifically, if you're working in a team, you need both of them. If you're working by yourself, then you might be able to get away with just being efficient. Might be, but effectiveness requires a whole lot of social and emotional intelligence and how to make sure that you're doing the right thing at the right time with the right people, and you're saying and you're communicating, and all the things that you need to do have to be aligned. And it can't be just the easy stuff to measure. It has to be the tough stuff, which is the stuff that requires a level of communication and understanding and wisdom. All these things have to come together. You have to align your priorities. Number 4, don't be afraid to be a bright light in your industry, in your role, in anything that you do. If you let your light shine as brightly as you can, that means put maximum effort forward. That means tell people that, might be interested, that this is what I'm doing. This is where I'm going. This is my future. This is what I'm headed towards. This is my forecast. This is where I believe we are aligned and what our purpose is. The more you shine that light as brightly as possible in every situation, the more you're going to be able to find that other people are going to feel the warmth of that glow. They're going to jump in. They're going to want to help you. They're going to want to support you. They're going to want to create opportunities with you. They're going to want to collaborate. They're going to want to be on your team. They're going to want to just be a part of that success. And there's a reason for that. Innate within every human being, no matter who they are, no matter where they come from, no matter what they're doing, is a sense that we all want to do meaningful things. We all want to be significant, and we all want to be relevant. Meaning, significance, and relevance is what it's all about. Now, some of you will sum all that body of knowledge up into one statement and call it purpose, right? But that's what it's all about. It's all about doing and being and participating in activities and ideas and thoughts that make us feel and prove to ourselves that we are meaningful, that we're relevant, and that we're significant. And when you do that, you're going to find a lot of things that work out really, really well for you. But don't be afraid to shine your light. Again, this is in the Bible, guys. Number 5, you need to get synced up with a higher purpose, a purpose that's higher than yourself, greater than yourself. And guess what? The team, the community, the universe is always greater than yourself. Seek the evidence that you're aligned and you're in sync with that higher purpose. Always, as you're executing, ask that question. That's why I said, earlier we talked about feedback, right? You have to ask the question in order to find the answers. You have to be interested in those answers. You have to be connected to valuing those answers, because if the old saying, and I love this song from John Cougar Mellencamp. I don't know the name of the song, but I know the lyrics. So if you stand for something or you fall for anything, you got to stand right up for something or you fall for anything, right? If you don't have that value system in mind that allows you to reach for and seek a higher purpose than your own selfish desires and whims, you're going to run out of juice. You're going to run out of steam. You're not going to be able to motivate a whole bunch of people. You're not going to be able to get the support that you need in order to execute anything you want to do. And so it's critically important that no matter what you do, you get synced up, with a higher purpose. Find out what that purpose is, deliver and move in that purpose as much as possible, as long as possible, as hard as possible. Because I think you're going to find that when you do that, you're going to have a special place in terms of how you feel about your contribution, how you feel about how you feel about achieving what we said earlier, right? Relevance, meaning, and significance. Number 6. I was shocked when I read this in the Bible, but the Bible pretty much says, listen, you have to develop and you have to refine your style because you're unique. You're unique. Your team is unique. The assemblage of people that you have pulled together to work on any initiative is unique. It's unique to the moment. It's unique to the person. It's unique to the personality. And it's a unique space and time that you occupy together like no one has ever done it before. So you get a chance to define winning. You get a chance to define how we're going to do this thing of ours. You get a chance to develop that and work with that and collaborate on that. That's the thing that creates a culture. That's the thing that creates a way, a strategy, a methodology that when you look at it and go, we did this and this is how we do what we do. And it'll be difficult to explain until you learn to codify it, until you learn to communicate it, until you learn to work with each other, to massage it and get the details out. So really think about, how do we do what we do? What is our style? How do we develop and how do we refine it? You have to do that, because as you do that more and more, you're going to find that you and your team start to create something magical that maybe would not have existed prior to. I see my girl Nancy stepped in and she stepped out too, but it was great. I love to have you here, Nancy, for as long as you were here, and I'm gonna give you a shout out anyway. Nancy is one of the best people I know when it comes to just dealing with the intuition of how we move forward in our lives and our business, and some of the things that we have to try to communicate and keep insight and focus on. And so it's good that you're here again, Nancy. That's beautiful. Thank you so very much for showing up. And by the way, if there's something anything you want to put in the chat that you want people to know, you want them to link to or connect it to, go ahead and put that information in the chat. If it's an introduction to yourself, or an address or phone number, or how people can call you, or websites you want somebody to look at, or presentation of anything, go ahead and put it in the chat, because we want to be open and friendly and warm towards anybody who has anything that's going to be helpful to others to move themselves, their lives, their businesses forward. Okay, so we were talking about number 6. We're on number 7 now, which is trust your instincts. You have instincts, and I'm glad. It's funny, I was talking about Nancy just about this earlier, right? If you have instincts, you have insight. It represents a wisdom that in one instance you have grown into, and in the other instance has been placed in you from the truth of your existence, from the beginning of your existence, right? So you can think about that. What does your gut tell you? What do your instincts tell you? And how do you refine your instincts so that they are more correct as you move forward? Now, it's a tricky thing when we talk about instinct, and we talked about the instinct for execution, because usually what's happened is you're called on to make fast decisions with limited information. And you just gotta, as people say, go with your gut, right? You have to do that. You have to make that fast decision. And sometimes, if you had a good track record of making those good decisions quickly without a whole lot of information, you can fool yourself into believing that every instance is just like that instance. I can tell you story after story of clients of mine that come to me and go, I need to do it this way. And I ask them why, and they go, I don't know, but I just think I should do it this way. I say, okay, well, let's explore that. Where might you have first come up with this notion? Where might you have first come up with this instance, or this belief, or this kind of feeling that this is the way to go? And oftentimes they can't come up with it. They can't even think about, where it might have occurred. And so it might be something that's innate. It might be something that was taught to them. Who knows where this gut feeling originated, but it is there. So now the question is, now that we know that it's there, is it true? Is it real? Can we back it up? Is there any evidence external to you that says that this gut instinct is a good gut instinct? Is there anybody else that believes in it besides you? Anybody else who thinks this way except you? And if so, how successful were they in their execution strategy and their execution process? You need to explore that. Your instincts are not something that you could take for granted, because your brain often tricks you. We now know more about the brain than we ever have in any time in human history, and we know that there are false narratives that we tell ourselves. Sometimes we tell ourselves those narratives so often, over and over again, they become true to us. They feel real to us and almost give us a sense of safety. But it doesn't mean it's true. And so that's why I always say, check with other people. Don't just follow your gut. Check with other people. Check with everybody around you. Check with your team. Check with the people that are leading you. Check with the people who are you're following. Again, that feedback. Keep that feedback loop open, and you have a higher chance of moving in truth and moving in a way of wisdom versus just in a way that feels like it's truth and feels like it's wisdom, but really isn't. Right? So trust your instincts, but you have to know how to trust your instincts. That's the point of, this discussion. If you don't know how to trust your instincts, if you don't learn how to trust your instincts, then you have to do the hard work, the exercises. You got to codify this thing. You have to plan and review. A lot of times I have people, who are so busy executing, they don't take time to think about what they learned from what they just did. You don't take time to take a breather and take time to allow reflective thinking and refractive thinking to jump in, so they can stop their mind, reset it, learn from the activity they just participated in, build some new synapses. I'm trying not to use too many psychological terms, but build some new synapses in their brain, which basically, by the way, improves your instinct. Last thing I want to mention when it comes to this before we move on, I know you've all heard the phrase 20/20 vision. Hindsight is 20/20 vision. Everything seems clear when you look back on it. When you look back on what you've accomplished and what you've done and the road you traveled, and it seems like it's a clear road, right? It seems like nothing could go wrong, and it was all wonderful, beautiful, blah blah blah, because you get thinking with rose-colored glasses. Even if it was a tragedy, it wasn't as bad as it was in your memory as it was when you were going through it and you couldn't think at all, and your brain was hijacked and you couldn't do anything you wanted to do, right? So in 20/20 vision, what that is your brain is building memories. Your brain is building new synapses. Your brain is building new connections to old ideas and finding a way to reroute them to where it's safer for you to think about it, even a tragedy. And so, you can't trust your brain. Your brain is seeking safety all the time. And in the challenge, it doesn't want to face a new challenge. It doesn't want to create new memories and new ideas and new thoughts, because that takes a lot of energy. And your brain doesn't want to give that much thought to too much anything. It wants to run on autopilot. It wants your instincts to take over. And you need your brain and that prefrontal cortex, I promise you that's the last big word I'm going to use today, to be developed by new challenges, new experiences, new people, new relationships, new ideas, new thoughts. So you want to keep bringing that to it, because you can strengthen that. You want to be more resilient. I'm doing a new study and a new training manual on how to develop fortitude. And one of the things that you have to happen is you got to work it out. You got to exercise. You got to try in real time and real space, and do the training and do the hard work that you need to do to develop yourself. If you don't, then you're going to find that you're in a bad situation, and you don't want to stay there. You don't want to go there. You don't want to stay there. You want to keep cruising through and try to make your situation as smooth as possible. But if I would caution you, if you find that things are too easy, you're probably not growing, and you're probably falling behind and you don't know it. Right? So let's just make sure you got to keep the challenge going, but you have to be strong enough to deal with the challenge. If the challenge is too hard, then it could break you. And I say, stretch it, but don't break it. That's one of my golden rules I have to share with all of my clients is make sure that no matter what you do, it's a stretch. And that means you have to take lots of rest breaks. That means you have to do a lot of reflective listening. And that means you got to do a lot of planning and review and organizing and reorganizing and checking the checks and all that kind of stuff. When you create systems that will renew you and then execute on those systems as well. Because if you do that, then I got a feeling you're gonna grow. That's the thing. You're going to grow, and you're going to grow in a healthy, holistic way. But if you don't do that kind of work, and you just kind of keep plowing through, keep, bumping your head into a brick wall over and over and over again, the news on the end of that is not good. All right. That's going to lead you to trauma and more danger. And by the way, your brain even gets used to trauma, and you won't even understand the dysfunction that you're bringing on yourself because your body will make the adjustment. Okay, moving right along. 8, kiss the unnecessary goodbye. This is tough for everybody. And what I mean by that is you got to let go. We talked about prioritizing before, but not only can't you do everything that needs to be done simultaneously, you can't do anything, that shouldn't be done or shouldn't be brought along with you. And so you got to drop off whatever behaviors, whatever thoughts, whatever people that were slowing you down or dragging you down or moving you forward. You got to drop them off. That's a baggage. That's weight that you're carrying, and it's unnecessary, especially the things that somebody else could do much better than you. Let it go. Stop it. You don't have to learn to do everything, even if it's exciting for you and it's interesting for you and you're passionate about it. If it's outside of your mission, outside of the direction that you feel like you should be going, your purpose that you've developed for you and your team, then you don't have the capacity for it. Life is too busy. There's too much to do. There's too many things to consider, too many people coming at you, too many new ideas to sort through, too many things to say yes to, and too many things to say no to. You've got to make decisions, and you don't have time to carry extra weight and extra baggage in your mind that's going to make it difficult for you to move, to be flexible. And I like to say this to small businesses all the time. Every time you say yes to something, you need to be ready to say no to something else. We are all working at maximum capacity. Everybody's working at maximum capacity. Some of us have been over capacity for years, and that's taken a toll on your body and your mind and in your relationships. Oh my God, the more importantly, your relationships. And you don't have any place to go for support or re-ups or reserves or anything like that because you've put so much into this thing for so long, whatever the thing is. And I will caution you, if you haven't learned to delegate, if you haven't learned to let go of the stuff that maybe you shouldn't be doing anyway, if you haven't learned to say no, if you haven't learned to drop off some of the unnecessary, and you keep saying yes, 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 yes to the new assignment, yes, yes, yes to the new opportunity, yes, yes, yes to the new thing that's going on, and you don't say no to anything, you don't drop anything off, you're weighing yourself down. You can't take it. You won't take it. And the last person to know is you when you're having the heart attack or the stroke, right? And because of the stress of it all, you just don't want to do that for yourself. You want to make sure that you're good. And every time you say yes, that's the exercise. Right? Every time you say yes to something, say no to something else. Make it a habit of only dealing with what you can deal with. But yes, pick up new opportunities, bring in new ideas and new thoughts, but be cognizant of what you're also saying no to, so that you don't have to do it anymore, so that you don't have to think about it anymore. If you delegate something, well, you're just making up room for something else that you can do, that some new idea, somewhere because you've appropriately delegated, and that's a whole different course on how do you appropriately delegate something. But kiss the unnecessary goodbye. That's number 8. Number 9, always, always, always stay true to the game. Whatever the game is, that means if you don't know the rules of the game that you're playing, if you don't love the rules that the game of whatever game you're playing, whatever role you're in, whatever leadership strategy you're using, whatever kind, place you are on the team, if you're just a team member, that's not a problem. You're still a leader in that role, whatever role you play, right? So think about that. Stay true to the game. You have to know the rules. You have to know the rules, the principles that guide you, the value system that's going to make other people fall in love with what you're doing. You have to know all that. And if you don't know that, explore it. Make sure that you do figure it out. Ask other people. Don't sit there by yourself. Read, learn, try new things, in a safe way, right? Don't try new things just because for the sake of trying new things. So try new things that are in line with your mission, your priorities, and do it in a way that is going to help renew you and help you get stronger and help you build resilience. Practice, 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 and keep testing, testing, testing. If you do this kind of stuff really, really well, then you're going to stay true to the game. People ask you, can I do this? Can you do this? Can you do that? Can you help me with this? Like, the answer is no. This is a game I'm playing. If you want to help me in the game that I'm playing, we can talk. But other than this, I don't see a reason why I should entertain, unless you can bring something to me and entertain why I should consider, do, or think about some new concept, some new idea that's outside of the game, the role that I'm in. If it's going to help me, yes, I want to pay attention to it. But if it's not going to help me, and it's not going to help me, it's just going to be a deviation, don't bring that to me. Don't bring it to anybody else. It's not fair. Especially if you are one of these slick salesmen, you can use all kinds of manipulation tactics to get people to do things that they may not be naturally inclined to do, but you may have the gift of gab or personality or style or character or charisma, right? Those things are not necessarily going to be useful in the long term. In the short term, you might be able to manipulate people around, but in the long term, you want to influence them. You want to move from manipulation to influence. And this is two sides of the same coin. They may look exactly alike, but they feel something totally different to people that you're dealing with, and the people that you're and into yourself. When you've been a positive influence on somebody versus you just had your way with somebody. Think about it. It's a much different motivation, much different strategy, much different feeling. And so you want to be in the mode of influence and not in the mode of manipulation. Number 10, tap into the real power. And I got to tell you, the real power is not you. It's not you. It's you in collaboration with others and the universe. I want to be clear. The real power is never you. No matter how talented you are, no matter how gifted you are, no matter how capable you are, the real power is always going to be in the collaborative effort of others and the alignment to the universe. If you get this, what I'm sharing with you, then the question that you have to ask is, anytime you're doing something selfish, anytime you're doing something self-centered, every time you're doing something alone, every time you're doing something without collaborating or communicating or sharing it with others, then you're slowly taken away from your own power, and you're not tapping into the real power, because your power gets to dissipate over time, because there's no place to go to renew it. There's no place to go to strengthen it. There's no place to go to grow it in a way that others are going to see you and your contribution, again, as meaningful, right? Relevant, and what's the third one? I always say meaningful, relevant, and significant. You got to have those, and that's always going to be in concert with other people. You will not know that you're doing anything of meaning, relevance, and significance if others don't validate it. If others that you know, like, and respect and trust don't say, well done, good job, attaboy, you did amazing, I don't know how you did, they wouldn't be able to do that if you didn't share it. But again, if you keep your light to yourself, and in the Bible, the reason why I'm even bringing this up, it says, if you keep your light under the bushel, then nobody can see it. Nobody can participate in it. And when your light goes out, nobody will even know it. So think about that. How do you tap into the real power? How do you tap into the greatest strength that there is? And it's always in other people and the universe. Now, that's just my perspective. It's written in the Bible, but you believe it or you not, it doesn't really matter to me, because it's universal. It doesn't matter whether just because it came from the Bible doesn't mean it's not universal. It's universal. And I believe it's true. All right, so let's talk about the next step is love out loud and on purpose. And I hinted to this earlier. If you got something good going on, a passion that you have something that you can deliver and something that you feel special about, if there's an audience for it, then go ahead and do that thing. Love out loud. Do it on purpose. Make sure that, again, your light gets to shine. And I'm not talking about giving yourself a pat on the back. I'm talking about involving and engaging yourself with others in a way that makes them and helps them feel comfortable and helps them feel supported and helps them feel like they got a little extra power themselves because they're with you. And something about you and what you're contributing is allowing them to feel empowered, is allowing them to feel special, is allowing them to feel relevant, meaningful, significant, right? If you're doing that, if you're giving and sharing your gifts in a way that others get to feel that way, then you're doing the right thing with your gift. And you should be doing it out loud and on purpose. Now, I'm not saying going all Muhammad Ali on me and say, no, I'm the greatest and I float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. I'm not saying that, but I am saying, don't be afraid of being as great as you really are. And by the way, you don't know how great you really are unless you're involved and engaged with other people. So pay attention. When somebody says, you did great with that, I really loved it, listen to them. Don't just get all up in your head. Ask them the deeper question. What is it that you specifically loved about it? And you say it helped you, it helped make you feel this way. At what point did you start to get that feeling, and what do we do to grow that? Because you want that kind of feedback. You want to know that you have this gift. You want to know that you have this talent. And you want to know where this talent might be better applied. But none of that will happen until you seek that truth, until you seek that wisdom, until you seek that information. Okay, we're rounding the corner now. We're at number 12. Stand tall and finish strong. This takes not resilience, not mental toughness, not hard charging, none of that masculine bravado. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about taking the time to exercise, to work out, to develop your talent and your strengths. Practice, rehearse, consistently problem solve. If you're a problem solver, then you should be solving problems. Even problems that, are not your problems. Go find other problems to get good at it. Strengthen yourself. Do your homework. Do your research. Test it. Do the work. And guess what? You can stand tall and you can finish strong. You don't even have to win. But you play the game at a high level, whatever game you're playing. And you can then say, I've given my all. I've given it my best. I've delivered. And I continue to deliver. And I'm going to continue to deliver. So on to the next race, on to the next obstacle, on to the next situation. The more you do that, the more you practice, the more you rehearse, the more you, I can't stand people all the time and they say, I'm having a hard time with this. I'm asking, okay, what are you doing about it? What are you doing? Who are you talking to? You can't get a job? Okay, why can't you get a job? What a part of the process isn't working? Is it your resume? Do you need more experiences? I don't think it's hard to get very many experiences that you need to have. You just got to go say, I want to do this, and somebody's going to allow you to do it because they're already doing it. Find that alignment and go with it. You'll be able to get the experience, and then you'll be able to get the endorsement and the recommendation from somebody who's seen your work. Maybe that's what you need to get the interview. If you get the interview, if you find yourself failing in the interview process, then maybe it's how you communicate. Because you obviously were qualified for the job. They brought you in for the interview, and now they're trying to see if you're going to be a good fit for the company. And maybe your values aren't demonstrated well. Maybe your character isn't demonstrated well. Maybe, when you talked about your skills, you couldn't communicate it in a way that other people were ready to listen to it and ready to understand it. And so you might have the skill, but you can't communicate it effectively. That's a different thing. So that's what you have to learn. But you can't learn it without asking for feedback. You can't learn it without testing your assumptions. You can't learn it without doing the things we said earlier you need to do. Right? Number 13, I love this one. Give and demonstrate your collective best. Your team, no matter what your team is, your team could be a team of advisory councils, it could be board of directors, it could be best friends, it could be close associates. No matter what your team is, figuring out what it is to demonstrate your best in any effort that you will go into together is a significant leadership hurdle, because a lot of people don't take the time to see and look at and go, okay, team, let's get together, let's huddle up. What is our best and what does it look like? Do we know? Can we articulate it? Because if we can articulate it to each other and understand it from each other, then we got it. But if we can't, if everybody on the team can't articulate it, can't understand it, and adequately share it with each other in a way, by the way, if that vision, that purpose, and that mission is shared so well, even amongst your team, that it causes excitement in your team, you got something. But if people like they listen and they hear it, they go, oh man, you got it wrong again, or no, that's not really it. I don't really, that's not interesting. I'm not here for that. That's the indication there's a problem, and that leaders need to deal with that problem. Either people don't get it, they don't want to get it. They're overwhelmed by other things. It's a problem, and it can become a cancer that can crush your organization, crush your team, make it even more difficult to do what's already difficult, right? It's truly, truly important that you do this well, that you make sure that you define and communicate to each other what it is to give your best, your collective best. What does it look like for you as an individual and for you as a collective team? The last point that I got, and all again, this comes from the Bible. If you're reading the document and you can get all this, you need to let your transparency shine. That means plug into your authenticity, plug into your real self, the stuff that's behind the mask, the stuff that only comes out on the third or fourth date, the stuff that, people, when they discover, are either going to fall in love or be disgusted by you, right? But it is your authentic self. It is your truth. Is when you cut down to the core, what is it that you bleed? What is it that you are about? What is it that, is clear, again, once you get past the ego and all of the drama that we tend to bring along with everything we do, and every person we are is the same, right? You want to make sure you get around and above those things. I'm also going to share with you a couple of the other pieces, and and once you think about what we've always talked about, by the way, and the Bible is a great reference point to talk about execution, right? And what you need to do to be better at it. There's also the prevailing wisdom that has been gotten from the current literature and the science that we've discovered. And I'm going to try to talk to you about the science in a way that is useful. And not in a way that, because yes, I've taken the time to learn all the big words, that are associated with understanding how brain function works and all that kind of stuff. But I don't want to talk to you about that stuff. You can go research that yourself. In fact, if you want to really get into the reasons why we do the things we do and how we do things we do, I suggest that you Google terms like emotional intelligence, social intelligence. Look up. This one of my favorite books talks about having emotional hijack. What does that look like? What is that? Where does that come from? What's that all about? How do you move past your stress? The fear, the anger, the frustration, to move yourself back into peace and harmony and balance. These are things that you need to learn to do, but you're not going to be able to learn to do it in a vacuum. You need to tap into others. You need to see other examples. You need to see other wisdom about that. And I have here listed in the training manual lots of resources for you, quotes and links to a lot of things and exercises. But when we talk about execution, there are basically two main concepts that come together. These two concepts come together to create effectiveness, efficiency, and productivity. The two concepts are basically the carrying out of action and the performance in a style. When you're doing that well, when you understand how to take the right action, use the right instruction, the right commands, the right movements, and then you do it with a style that is relevant and special, then you're going to find that your performance, no matter what it is you're trying to do, is much improved. It becomes amazing. And there are some rules that I want to share with you, right? Rules of performance and rules of style. Let's deal with the rules of performance first. Ralph Marston said, don't lower your expectations to meet your performance, but raise your level of performance to meet your expectations. Expect the best of yourself and then do what is necessary to make it a reality. So rule number one, when it comes to performance, is understanding that you are responsible to create and maintain your will to succeed. You can do it. You hold all the keys to your own personal motivation. And if you let that play out and you do what you need to do to strengthen and create that desire, that drive, that will, then you're going to have it when you need it. But it takes practice. It takes social and emotional practice to develop that. You can't just, you have what you have, but if you want to grow it, understand that you're responsible to grow it. You're responsible to make it bigger. Rule number two, when you dream big, you win even bigger. You have to dream big. You have to be able to envision yourself, your team moving forward and accomplishing big things, winning big ideas. Because if you can't see it, you can't be it. If you can't really allow your vision and your mind's eye to go forward in that future mode and really see yourself being, doing, and having something more, something bigger than you have right now, then there is a problem that, again, needs to be addressed. Because how are you going to perform something that you don't even see yourself performing? You don't even see yourself being a part of. You don't even see your team being meaningful, relevant, and significant, right? Number three, I love this one. This is my favorite. Plan your strategy until it feels like destiny. I can't tell you how many people tell me, well, I don't know, when should I stop planning? When have I planned enough? And my answer is always this. When you feel like what you're planning is a fait accompli, when it was just meant to happen, it's going to happen. It may not happen in the time that you have planned and strategized to do it, but it has got to happen. It is a reality. It is something that is in the present, not in the future. When it feels like that, you're planning enough. Get to going, get to work. Let's go. Time to stop planning. Put the pencil down. You put your team and stop planning right now. You can stop collaborating, coordinating, getting things together. You can start going. Usually that happens. And now a lot of times people say, well, I need a methodology that works better than that. Okay. Can't trust your feelings? Okay, fine. No problem. If you have 9 months to do something, take a third of the time, that's 3 months, and just do planning and rehearsal, practice. That's what you do for 3 months. Don't go anywhere. Come month 6, hit the ground. Remember, plan and review along the way. Remember to get feedback, do your action after actions every day, so that you can, really, really codify what's going well, what's not going well, make adjustments. Because the plan has to be flexible, right? It has to be something that just because you have a plan doesn't mean that you stick to it no matter what. You go down with the ship. No, don't go down with the ship. In fact, don't let the ship go down because you had an inflexible plan, right? So be flexible and do follow some of the steps we talked about earlier. Rule number 4 of performance: if it's not urgent, do it now. This is a momentum rule, right? There are a lot of things that you may have to do, a lot of tasks that you may have to do along the way towards getting anything done. When you're going to perform something, you're going to do something, and little small things that you can just knock out right away. They might not even be in sequence, but you can just knock it out and just be done with it. Do it. Now, I'm going to tell you now, I know I told you earlier, prioritize and do things in order, blah, 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 but I didn't mean necessarily in order of sequential order. I meant that in terms of more in terms of order, in terms of the right rules and the right principles and the right reasons for what you do, right? I'm glad we bumped into this and I get to clarify that. But number 4, do it now means just find the stuff that's the easy stuff that you can knock out right now and do that, because you want to build momentum in your performance. You want to build satisfaction and you want to build a sense of belonging in whatever performance that you are. And that happens as soon as you can get engaged. And if you can get engaged with a ton of small stuff, fine, do that. And then when it's time to get the big stuff done, you'll already be comfortable. You'll already have a rhythm of how you want to do things as you move forward. So I'm a big believer. You take you and your team, organize all your tasks and programs and so on and so forth, and knock the easy stuff out right away. As long as it's not going to be a problem with doing it out of sequence, then do it. If it's easy, do it. Do it now. It's not urgent, but you gotta do it now. Make it urgent, right? That's performance. Let's talk a little bit about style. I love style. Style is so critical to everything we do. And there's 2 quotes I want to share with you. Paul Klee says, he has found his style when he cannot do otherwise. He has found his style when he cannot do otherwise. And Arthur Schopenhauer says, style is what gives value and currency to thoughts. Now, there's 2 rules associated with style that I want you to understand. And there's beautiful exercises right under this in this segment. It's on page 8. Practice until you own your process. That's the beginning of real innovation. That's the first rule of style. Practice until you own the process, until you are getting into a sense, and you're getting a sense of real innovation. It means something is happening in a better way than it has ever happened before. And in your practice, in your rehearsal, in your growth and strengthening, before you get started, right, you're developing a way that your team is individually developing. And that's an innovation. It's a new innovation. It's a new creation. And so to speak, like there's nothing new to create. That's why I didn't say creation. It's innovation. It's right. You're creating on top of what already is, right? You're really coming up the new ways of doing things and new ideas, new concepts towards something, right? The more you practice, the more proficient you become as a team. The more you know each other, the more you feel comfortable with each other, the more you engage with each other, the more you can stretch each other, the more you can be accountable to each other. It's just going to make you stronger, make you faster. And eventually what happens is you become super strong. You become so strong that you can do things that no one could have imagined that you've done as a group, as a collective, as a team. Number 6, or number 2 in the style section. It's number 6 overall in performance and style, but number 2 is remember that your character is measured by what you do, but even more by how you do whatever it is you do. Your character is measured, yes, by what you do, but it's even measured even more by how you do what you do. So how you do matters. Your integrity, your reputation, just stand up to the challenge, whatever challenge there is, so that it always leaves your honor intact. And that's going to help you do a lot of things. It's going to help you know who you are, what you bring to the table. And again, I always say this, if you can't articulate that, if your team can articulate that, then you're going to have a hard time recruiting other talent. You're going to have a hard time developing other sources of strength. You're going to have a hard time working with others because you don't know how to share it. You don't know how to share it in a way that other people are going to see how wonderful and great it is. One of the things I hate, and this is something just I shouldn't use that word, but it's a strong word. Non-disclosure agreements. Wonderful legal term. Horrible in being open and transparent with your gifts and talents, specifically to people who matter. If you bump into somebody who has all the resources and support available to them, and you let the fact that you haven't, filed or gotten from them a non-disclosure agreement keep you from giving birth to an idea or creation that you feel destined to bring into the universe, then I think in a way you're shooting yourself in the foot. In a way you are stopping yourself from growing. And that's why we talked about transparency earlier. Yes, you've got to do everything right, do everything legal, get all the documentation signed. All those things are critically important. But what's more important is knowing and learning how to trust the right people at the right time. Dr. Covey wrote a book called, not Dr. Covey, his son, Stephen M.R. Covey, wrote a book called The Speed of Trust. In The Speed of Trust, he talked about the formula for trust and how do you massage this formula so that you can get to trust fast. It's quite against our human nature to think that you can trust somebody immediately. I would suggest, though, most of us have experienced some moment in our lives with other people where we have given somebody the trust immediately and it has worked out, right? For whatever we gave them the trust for. It may not have worked out for whatever we gave them the trust for next, but that thing we gave them the trust for, it worked out immediately. Immediately, the speed of connection, of transparency, of openness, of desire, all that happened because you share trust. And the better you get at discerning who and when you can, and under what circumstances you can give people the trust, the better you get at doing it. And it helps you so much. It helps you create so much energy, so much activity, so much value with people. In the document, we talked about, on page 9, we talked about the 4 secret sauce ingredients to business relationships. The 4 things you got to do to really, really build amazing business relationships, amazing levels of trust with other people. I suggest you take a read at it, and I'll give you a quick overview. But I'm going to start you with a quick quote from Jane Addams. Jane Addams says, if the underdog were always right, one might quite easily try to defend him. The trouble is that very often he is, but obscurely right, sometimes only partially right, and often quite wrong. But perhaps he is never so altogether wrong and pig-headed and utterly reprehensible as he is represented to be by those who add the possession of prejudice and the other almost insuperable difficulty of understanding him. I love that quote because it reminds me that inside all of us is a tendency to not trust others based on irrelevant ideas and issues. It could be gender, it could be age, it could be weight, it could be sex, it could be, the thought of religion or whatever that is will make us stereotype one another, will make us have a prejudgment of one another and force us out of trust and into doubt, right? But if we can hold that thought in check long enough to do these 4 secret things that I'm telling you right now, then I promise you're going to get the trust of people who you would not have imagined it was possible for you to get the trust of. You're going to be able to do it fast. Thing 1, understand each other's needs until you care enough to do something about it. Be willing to shut up and listen to someone else until you're willing to do something about it. Number 2, desire a known association with each other that is mutually beneficial. Anything you can do to nurture that desire to just be with one another, just be together. Anything you can do to nurture that, do it. Because on the outside, you're gonna have a mutually beneficial situation. You're gonna have a situation where both of you grow, both of you are challenged, both of you are looking at each other and pushing each other to grow, to do more. You're going to be able to support each other. You're going to be able to empower each other. But you've got to do it. Number 3, learn to like each other enough to enjoy helping each other. Find the joy. I'm a big believer that everyone has something unique and special about them. And it's my job to figure out what that is, so I can celebrate it and tell somebody else, this is what's wonderful about this person right here. This is what I enjoy most about this person right here. I'm not looking for people to do negative things. I'm not looking for people to be horrible. I'm not looking for the bad things in people. I'm looking for the good things. And I want them to do the same things to me, because good and bad exist in all of us. Right? I want people to see my light, and I'm trying to let it shine. Right? I'm trying to, but I need you to tell me. I see you. I see what you did there. I like that. That made a difference for me. I understood something because of what you said. I need you to do the same. Make it easy for me to see your light. And I'll let you know, I see you. That's wonderful. That is great what you're doing. That is amazing. How did you do that? Where did it come from? When did you start learning about that? I'm being inquisitive, right? That's how you learn to like somebody. Now, I'm a Gemini. It comes quite naturally to me. I love everybody. And I especially love people who are up to no good, trying to do something special, right? Just really going against the grain, but at the same time, you're trying to make it a better thing for somebody else. I'm all about that. I want more of those people in my life, because those people are not afraid to challenge. They just go right at it. I love somebody who considers himself an advocate, which means they are a fighter. They're going to struggle. It's okay, because I understand on the other side of every struggle is newness. On the other side of every struggle is a rebirth, is a renewal, and an opportunity for something else, something greater to happen, right? Without the struggle, though, it's the same old. No change, no growth. Okay, let's do the trust. The 4th ingredient of maximizing your professional relationships is really trust. You have to learn how to trust each other enough in the face of difficulty to continue giving each other the trust. And whatever it takes to do that, that's what you do. That's how you know. If I trust you so much and we're struggling together, and I'm okay with struggling together as long as I'm struggling with you, that's good. We're in a good space. We're in a very, very good space. So think about that. Have you ever been to a team or been on a team where there was so much trust flowing in and around and through the team that it was evident? It was just evident that these people would die for one another. These people would go to the mat for one another. These people would just do anything that needed to be done to support and love and care on each other. That's what unity is all about. That's what collaboration is all about. Teamwork is creating that magical level of trust where everybody feels like they're a winner. Everybody's participating. Everybody's engaging. Everybody is on the team, running the race and doing what they can. Now, further in the document, and again, this is 36 pages, so I'm not going to go into all of it. We talk about understanding. How do you create happiness? We talk about how to develop associations. And I love this story called the Only Me story on page 11. You're going to love that story too. It's one of the most incredible stories. And it's a true story. And I just changed the names to make to create the metaphor. It's really exciting stuff. And then we just talked about the rules of engagement. How do you recognize your personal achievement? What a like-minded commitment looks like, how to become a specific somebody versus a relevant nobody, right? How to bring your A game, how to be more socially responsive, how to consistently connect with people, how to demonstrate that connection so that people understand it. And which is just one of my favorite topics in the whole program is trust because you must. It's an essential tool of execution. If you're trying to execute with people that you don't trust, you got a problem, right? So how do you develop it? How do you grow it? How do you move it forward? How do you break out of you just being a person that has integrity to a collective, a group, a team that is creating lasting achievement. How do you do that? So we talk about that in the document and all the different things that are about there. How to develop the confidence edge, how to just pull it all together. And last but not least, in page 22, we get into another one of my favorite sections, which is think, plan, go for it, right? How do you move from strategy to technique to tactic to skill and back up from skill to tactic, technique, and strategy? How do you do that? How do you flow in a more efficient and effective manner with a team? Because a lot of people can create these magical plans, right? But they can't get their team excited about the plan because the team doesn't see themselves in the plan. They don't see how they can use their techniques, their tactics together to create something special. They don't see how it all comes together. So you have to be good as a leader at helping everybody understand this is the plan, but this is where you are in the plan. And this is what we're dependent on you for in the plan. This is because we know we can depend on you because you're excellent at this. And if you need any help being even more excellent than you are, this is the support you're going to be able to get back. And people start to see that, and then they see themselves winning. They see themselves winning as an individual, they see themselves winning as a collective, and they see the team moving forward, standing tall, standing strong, right? It's very, very important to be able to do, to understand how to make that flow happen. And I've got some examples of what a strategic plan or what I like to call a strategic execution plan might look like, right? So that's there, and all the systems and all the tools and how to fill everything out, and there's a lot of good stuff in here. But I'm going to close that out. If anybody has any questions about anything, now's the time to ask. If you, I wanted you to ask any questions along the way, but I didn't see any questions. So good opportunity for you, if you have any questions, to chip in and let us know what you're thinking. Let us know where you're coming from. And if not, seeing none, I'm going to close up the party for this week. I had a great time, guys. This was amazing. It was truly amazing. I got some good stuff going on that I will talk about next week. Do me a favor, bring some friends. Take a look at what some of the tools we have here for you, and we got some great announcements to make and some gifts I want to share with you all. But I want to have a bigger party, and I think I don't have a topic for next week. So pay attention to my LinkedIn profile, my Facebook profile, and we'll come up with exact. I'm just out. I'm tapped out. Maybe it'll be 4 to 2. We'll see. All right. We'll talk to you guys later, and have a great day. Thank you very much.